saying whether Libertas is going to try and change the structure of the way the European Union legislates. Because just to say you must be more accountable is not really enough. You have to change the structure, which is written in the treaties. Or whether you are going to campaign for restoration of more power to national parliaments.
I think the first thing that Libertas seeks to do is take stock. And the first point you start is with the Lisbon Treaty. And as Declan has mentioned, the fact that people in the United Kingdom and elsewhere across Europe have not been given their say on Lisbon. So you start with that. Beyond that, once you've given the chance for people to say whether or not they're prepared to transfer the amount of power, 75 to 80% of legislation now emanating from Brussels, you then look at exactly what you're going to do. And I think as time elapses over the campaign, so Libertas will publish those policies that will tell you exactly what institutional reform is required. But for the time being, the first thing we need to do is communicate a clear message, and that is to restore democracy, transparency and openness right at the heart of the European Union.
Gavin Stamp from the BBC.
Sorry, can you, sorry.
Gavin Stamp from the BBC. One question for Robin. I'm interested to know whether this is a one-off effort or you will be fielding candidates in future national elections, for instance, in the next general election. And for Declan, can I ask how much you're prepared to spend personally to make this project a success and to ensure that the message you've talked about is got across successfully?
I was expecting that question, and I think the very simple answer is, as Declan has said, and as I have said to those people putting themselves forward as candidates in the UK, we've got to have a clear aim here, and that is to establish a serious political party, the first step of which is the European elections on June the 4th and Europe. I think beyond that, it's way too early to predict, and let's be clear, the job of reforming the European Union is a big enough task ahead of us. So Europe is very definitely the focus.
I'd like to also pick up on that same point before I answer your second question, which is this really is a matter of horses for courses. Up until now, voters have only had the option of choosing national political parties that are really designed for national issues at the ballot boxes when it came to European elections. And the fact is no matter what party you came from, whether you be Labour, Tory or anything else, if you won every single seat in the UK, you'd have 72 seats out of over 780 in the European Parliament. You can never be effective. Some might even think it was designed that way. What's happened is more power has been given to these institutions in Brussels, but the democratic mechanisms that we're trying to manage Brussels with are the equivalent of trying to make a phone call with one of those windy old Bakelite phones from the 1940s. And in the age of high-speed digital communications, you need new answers, you need new technologies, you need new mechanisms to deal with and manage and give you the ability to fix this thing. There isn't a tool, and hasn't been a tool, available up to now, and the proof is in the pudding. Look, there hasn't been a tool that has been effectively able to engage with Brussels and fix it anywhere in Europe. And when you ask yourself the question, why is that? The answer is there is no pan-European politic. And one of the reasons for that is nobody wanted you to have one. How do national parties make themselves European and have members that can carry serious voting weights? I mean, you have these groups in the European Parliament that no one outside of this room has ever heard of, the UEN and the EPP and the XYZ party groups. And as one MEP said to me a couple of years ago, he said basically what it amounts to is an agreement to share a photocopier and a fax machine, and we don't even do that very well. So Libertas overcomes all of that, and of course that's why Brussels is so very terrified of us. On the question of how much money am I prepared to put in, I'm all done with putting money into Libertas because it's not about me. This isn't about, this is, you know, I am one man in what is becoming an increasingly large organisation. It would be wrong of me to be some form of checkbook producer. Very importantly, we have to make sure that we get the support of small donors. Someone that gives us a quid is really, really important. Why? Because they're engaging. They've got one vote, just like the man or the woman that has 1 million or more. They've got one vote, which is the great thing about democracy. My vote's as good as the next man or the next woman's. Give a quid to Libertas. Give us a £5. Become part of this. Because what you do when you chip in the quid is you become part of this. You become one of us to the extent that you want to be. You're making a bet. And I don't know about you, but if I put a quid on a horse, I tend to watch the race if I can. Or on a rugby match, although I won't talk about that. That's where we need to get the bulk of our money. Of course we want donations from business people and industry and everything else, just like anybody else would. Of course we do. I make no apologies for that. But the small donor is key, which is why in the next 9 or 10 days on the libertas.eu site you're going to see a very, very big push at the grassroots level to get small donors, and we've hired expertise from around the world to ensure that we can do that as effectively as possible. Will it succeed? That's up to the people with the quids. But chip in, and we won't let you down.
Question back left.